This is East Idaho Newsmakers with Nate Eaton.
Thanks for being with us today. We have Michael McLean here with us in our studio. He recently was in town for his very popular show, The Forgotten Carols. How many years have you been doing this show, Michael?
This dates me 27 years. This is the 27th.
How do you keep it fresh and current and different year after year?
You know, that's the great question. Because when I started doing this, it was just me. I played all the parts. And I didn't know if anybody would come see me, so I had this inspiration. Get choirs that got relatives. So I would invite, regional choirs, like when you were in the show, would get either high school or regional choirs and invite their families to come, and figured they'd help sell some seats. And then I did it kind of like an author's reading, I had a bunch of costumes on stage and I played all the parts, and I'm not brilliant, but I loved the story so much. And that was the only way I knew how to get it out to people. Turns out, to my surprise, that it became kind of a tradition to, well, let's go see the guy who wrote it do it. And then I would invite different guest singers. And then in 2006, we started to do it. My son came to me and said, "Dad, I think I can fix your play if you'll let me." I said,
Fix it? Yeah.
It's broken, it's getting you through college, And he said, and he's a brilliant actor and a terrific writer, and he said, no, people love to come see you because they like you. But you'll die, and this may die with you. But if we crafted it as a play that anybody could do, so you don't have to have Michael McLean kind of doing what he does, it could work.
Was that hard for you to adapt, or were you looking to kind of freshen it up?
Well, he was brilliant. I mean, I'm a dad, so take that for what it's worth, but he really is spectacular as a writer. And he figured out things, in the story that would be stronger if what about this, or what if we revealed it this way? And, I'm not Charles Dickens. I mean, it's a lovely little story, and Dickens doesn't write songs, so I have an edge on him. But no, he started to say, how could we do it? And the reason it's cool, to get back to your original question, is how do you keep it fresh? Each night that we do the production, and I know this maybe sounds a little goofy, but I learned something. I'll go, oh man, I didn't realize this story's a lot about that. And I thought it was about this, or depending on where you are. And I think part of the reason people keep coming is because there's a familiarity to it, but they recognize themselves in all the Forgotten Carols characters. Mm-hmm. All the people who have been forgotten in the Christmas story are us. The innkeeper who turned away Joseph and Mary, he's us. We're not bad people, we're just too busy. Or we're the shepherd who fell asleep and missed it all, and the only way he knows about it is hearing it from somebody else. And how does it feel when you hear it? And so I think people recognize it that way. And because it's not done as a film yet, we can tweak it. Say, what if we added this little thought? Or, ooh, what if we made this fresher this way?
You said yet. Are you saying that a film might be coming?
I'm hoping. We've been trying to raise some money for it, and we did an arrangement of one of the songs, the Innkeeper song, to show what it might be like updated, because it was recorded 27 years ago, and what if it sounded more like Greatest Showman and had that kind of energy?
Oh wow, that'd be
sounds pretty cool. So we're hoping we can pull that off.
So over the course of your career, how many songs have you written?
I don't have an exact number. I have 32 albums.
32 albums, and there's what, 9, 10 songs on each?
Or 12 or 18.
And you're still writing?
Oh, yes. In fact, I just wrote a song a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, that I have been debating whether or not I'll add it to the encore section of the tour. I don't know.
Do you have a favorite song or a few favorites that, to your grave, that will be the one that you're most proud of?
They're like children. Sometimes you like some better than others. And my default answer to that question is I like the one I'm working on now, But I think I had a funny experience. I was back in the day when I was kind of the hot, young, known amongst the LDS people songwriter guy, selling lots and lots of records, big crowds. I was hip and happening, and a group out of BYU said they were a comedy troupe, and they said, "Hey, we're doing a show the same night you're doing a show down there at BYU. Could we maybe come and do a little bit of our comedy when we get done with our show and come to your thing?" And I had heard they were terribly funny, but I'd never seen them. And so I'm doing my thing, and I was just basically telling stories and singing songs, kind of a one-man show thing. And here they come, the Garens, I think they were called. This guy walks out on stage, and he's got like curly hair like I had, glasses that look just like mine, and he starts doing me. He's like doing me. And he sits at the piano. Oh, this was...
And you didn't know he was going to do this?
Oh, I didn't know what was coming at all, Nate, not at all. So he starts playing and he said, many times people, and I get so emotional that he was like saying, many times and it's like, zzz. I get so emotional playing my songs, and people often come to me and say, Brother McLean, and he's playing and he's doing the thing, and people are just rolling.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm kind of going, yikes. And then here was
it's like
my favorite.
SNL or something.
Yeah, he says, and then people always ask me, so, Brother McLean, what's your favorite of all the songs you've ever written? And my answer is always the same. They all sound the same to me too. And I am dying. And then he brings the troupe out, and they're doing hold on, the light will change instead of the light will come. And they've got garbage can things like cymbals.
Oh, wow.
And they're doing beams coming out of there. And as they're coming down the steps to backstage to have me go back up, they said, we went it easy on you tonight because you're actually here. Man! And imitation is supposed to be the greatest form of flattery. But I thought about that. First of all, when you've written as many songs, to learn how to write songs early in my career, I wrote a song every day for a year, a different song every day. A lot of terrible songs, but to try to get to try to make it a job instead of just I wait till I feel something. Mm-hmm. And so I've written a lot of songs and done all these albums, and you hope that you have a fresh take, and each one has it doesn't sound like it's the... And then I thought about it, and I thought, maybe I've only written 2 songs. And maybe the thing that made me recognized and got me started was You're Not Alone. I wrote this song, and I had created a whole album worth of songs called You're Not Alone back in the early 80s. And I went to Deseret Book and I said, hey, you guys sell books, maybe you could sell songs. And because I had produced a Christmas special called Mr. Kruger's Christmas with Jimmy Stewart, and I would tell stories about how it came to be, and I was the producer of the Tabernacle Choir, and I had a chance to stand in front of the First Presidency and the Quorum of the 12 for 40 minutes and act out Mr. Kruger's Christmas and ask for help, and then I got to go hire Jimmy Stewart and make the movie.
Starring Jimmy Stewart, yeah.
And he was my hero. So it was and that's some other time when we've got lots of time on your show. I'll tell you that story. It's fabulous. So anyway, because I was doing talks and firesides and had a pretty big audience, and I would kind of sing songs along the way, because I had a history of writing commercials and ads, home front commercials for the church, and a number of other things. So I had a bit of an audience. So I went to them and I said, I've written all these songs. And they said, but you're not singing them. I said, no, I got some really cool singers to sing these songs. And they said, but who's going to buy a record by a guy who can't sing? We've heard you can't sing. And I said, I really heard you the first time. I get it. And they said, no. I said, I think it's the songs. And they said, Billy Joel sings the songs he writes, and James Taylor sings the songs he writes, and Carole King sings the songs she writes. This isn't going to work. You want to put your name on it because you wrote all the songs, but you get all these other... So nothing. And then September of 1983, the women's conference that went through satellite all over the world, their featured song for their theme was You're Not Alone. And they had this great young girl, Jan McCardle, who sang it, and it was woven in, and they used it as this, it came back and forth 2 or 3 different times. And so hundreds and hundreds of thousands of women at one time hear You're Not Alone. Next morning, phone call. We think that You're Not Alone album sounds like a great idea.
Oh, wow.
Boom. So it was ready to go, and we released it in '83, and it did well. And I just kept writing and writing and writing, and it was, you know, if I win the lottery, I'll just keep writing until it's all gone. The stuff that I write about is about my experiences, and this is kind of how I'm seeing this, or, well, that's an interesting take on spiritual component, or maybe this is comforting. And then the other thing is that I'm clinically depressed and have been for 40 years. And I took my meds today, so I should get through this.
You say that, that's kind of still, well, you tell me, is it kind of still a stigma in society? You don't talk about depression?
Well, you know, I started talking about it when I started talking about it kind of early in my career, because it helped with my marriage. I went to a marriage counselor because we were struggling, and a huge component of it were some things that I just couldn't figure out. And you know, there's some things that, and it turns out that there was something broken in my brain. I have a chemical imbalance that makes it so that I can't be rational. And some of the things get aggravated if I do certain things. They're behavioral. Don't do this, it'll make it worse. But when I finally found that there was a medicine that kind of balanced me out, it doesn't bliss me out, it just is so I can sit here and talk to you and listen and process what you're saying. But a lot of the songs came, I think, as gifts to get me through hard times. So a lot of the themes that I have are songs like Hold On, the Light Will Come, and You're Not Alone. And this has been a very long way of getting around to the first point we made, which is which of all your songs is your favorite, or which matters. I think if I write a song that is really personal and honest and well crafted, and somebody listens to it and says, I know how that feels, nobody said it that way, that guy knows me, he's been reading my journal, that song knows what I am, then that message to him is, guess what? You're not alone. You
spoke about 2 years ago, I think, in a magazine publication about your faith crisis concerning your son.
Well, it was triggered by an experience with Jeff, but it was my crisis.
Yeah.
I made movies that were seen by hundreds of millions of people, not just Mr. Kruger's Christmas, but you know, Together Forever and Prodigal Son and Labor of Love and all these missionary department movies. I mean, I was kind of the cinematic guy for a number of years. And I had prayers getting answered. And in 2005, I was in New York City. And we were doing my musical, well, our musical. I wrote a musical with my friend Kevin Kelly, and it's called The Ark. And the inside of the theater is the inside of Noah's Ark. And the audience are the animals. So it was a very fun, clever, touching idea about the nature of miracles. How does a family get through a crisis? And I'd been working on it with Kevin for 20 years, and I was in heaven. I graduated from high school across the river from New York City. I'd fallen in love with theater in that way when I was a young guy, and so there I am, and I'm playing in the Sandbox with Broadway greats, and this was it. My career was going to just skyrocket. I was going to have a hit on Broadway. And the New York Times didn't listen to the spirit and write a great review. And so we got beat up, and it didn't last very long. It was there for 38 or 40 performances. And I was crushed. I thought, oh, what a heartbreak to get so close and not have all this lifelong energy and preparation and hard work pay off. And so I thought that was the tough part. And then a year later, my son came out and said, Dad, I can't do it. I'm gay and I can't do this. And oh my gosh, and you failed me. You said things about this issue that were kind of the party line of this is how we manage. He says it's not lining up with my experience at all. And I think for the guy who made the commercials about how to be a great dad, guess what? You weren't.
And you were living in California, weren't you, at the time? Was Prop 8 happening around this time? And
yeah, it was tough. And Jeff was doing big Broadway musicals, brilliant talent. Both of my sons are fantastically gifted, and he was doing a Broadway musical and had fallen in love and said, if Prop 8 goes down to defeat, could Josh and I get married at your place in Malibu? So here I am. You go to church in the morning. We have to do everything we can to protect the family, and Prop 8's an important component. This is the deal. This is a moral issue. Not just a civil rights issue, which is kind of how I had approached it. And then you get a phone call, hey Dad, I've been looking at the numbers, the polling numbers, what do you think? So I'm trying to, and I'm trying to come up with answers to hold my family together. Because this is an intense issue. This was a long time ago. And I didn't get my prayers answered. And I thought, wait a minute, you owe me. I mean, this is the arrogance of thinking you're a big deal. And I had devoted myself to, I made films for the church. I touched hundreds of millions of people with musicals and songs and plays. And I just want to know how to manage this. How do I help my son? I've been unsuccessful in helping him get through this difficult thing. I don't understand it. And the things when he was coming out that the church said on this issue were a little different than they are approaching it now. And the thing that shocked me was the heavens just stopped. I couldn't get an answer to my prayer. And I'm used to hearing like impressions and spiritual stuff. Nate, it was nothing. It was just absolutely, it was painful. Is there something I'm doing wrong? And then I started to think, what if you're not there? What if I got this all wrong? Not just the church part. Maybe the church got this particular, what if I got it all wrong? What if he's not there? Wait a minute, I can't even, can I say this out loud? This guy who wrote songs about how God knows you and he loves you and he's there for you. Well, he wasn't there for me. 2 years into this and nothing. And I start thinking about maybe I need an exit strategy. Wait a minute, not me. An exit strategy.
after your whole career.
Oh, yeah. And what do? What am I going to do? Go do a tour that says, just kidding, you are alone. There was a book that came out while I was in the midst of this called Come Be My Light. And it was a collection of letters written by Mother Teresa to her father confessors. And what I did not know was the last 49 years of her life. Crisis. She wasn't getting an answer to any of her prayers. After she started Sisters of Charity in Calcutta, the spirit that led her to become a nun, and I just think this woman is spectacular, and all the good she did. And she says, what am I doing wrong? The spirit is not with me. I do not feel Jesus at all. And please destroy this letter. Don't tell anybody about this thing. And she said, I can't reveal this to anyone because I am kind of the face of the Catholic Church. I have gone to get the Nobel Prize for Peace. I'm the one that people look to, and I don't want to hurt anyone's faith, but I feel nothing. And after she died, they have all these letters published. And I'm reading these, and I'm weeping because I'm thinking, I get it. You know, what am I going to do? Who can I go to? Then I had a dream. Mother Teresa came to me in my dream. I'm sitting at a piano in a theater very much like where we did the Ark in New York City. And similar audience, and Mother Teresa is young, and I am accompanying her. And she's singing her life, and I know all her songs. And I'm thinking, this is so weird. Why do I know Mother Teresa's, why is the Mormon songwriter guy, know Mother Teresa, the Catholic, know all these songs? And then it comes to the big number in the musical. And she doesn't speak, she only sings. And it comes up in the story of this one-woman show she's doing. Why did she hang on? Why didn't she say, it's all a crock, I'm done? And then she sings this, and I hear this song in my dream. And the lyric goes, I choose, this is her singing, I choose to pray to one who doesn't hear me. I choose to wait for love he just conceals. And though God's chosen now not to be near me, I'm keeping promises my heart no longer feels. I'm keeping promises my heart no longer feels. Well, I wake up. It's 4:30 in the morning in California. We had this really cool house that looked over the ocean. And I thought, this isn't about Mother Teresa at all. This is about me. Am I going to keep the promises? Because we make all of our promises. We make all of our promises when we're feeling it. I'm in love with you. Let's get married. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. We make promises to join a church. I'm feeling the Spirit. That was really, really great. Let me join. We see the baby and we say, I'm going to love you for, well, till you're a teenager. We make all of our promises when we're feeling something. But what about when we feel nothing? And so I thought, wow, I need to decide. This is my moment. Will I keep all the promises? So I chose to offer a prayer. I said, in essence, what the prayer said was, I don't know why you don't want to talk to me. I don't know why I can't feel your Spirit. If you'd give me any inclination of what I have done wrong to make me unworthy to just hear and feel your love. I don't know how to get my son through this thing. The answers don't make any sense. His experience, and I failed him in just so many ways, and I've got to repent for whatever I did in terms of being there for him and being compassionate and understanding and help him with his journey and not just do diatribes of dogma, some of which hasn't turned out to be his experience. So, God, if you're there, here's my new commitment. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to show up and shut up. I'm going to trust that when I'm ready to receive whatever you may have in store for me, that you'll share it with me. And this is so embarrassing, Nate, but as I'm saying the prayer, in the back of my mind I'm thinking, that's a good prayer. Man, this is a great prayer. And this can't last longer than 6 or 7 more weeks. And we'll do an article in the church magazine, and I'll tell some stories, and maybe I'll make a movie about it. 7 more years.
Years.
Nothing. And so I got, and it got worse. We left California, came home to take care of my parents and Lynn's parents, and I had asked some questions at church that I thought were rather innocuous, and I was told that don't speak. We don't want you. Don't speak. Don't ask questions. It's not. In fact, we'll give you a church job in genealogy, so you'll be in that room in the back. You won't be tempted to ask a question.
Close the door and work on the computer.
Yeah, do this with your wife in genealogy. And of course, I was such a, oh my gosh, I said, so is there a tithing rebate if you're not speaking? Do I get like 6%? So anyway, I'm basically just trying to keep the promises. And then I had this amazing 10-day period. I'm in my little study in Heber, and for 10 days I get download, I don't know what else to call it. It's like a download of songs. And I write songs pretty quickly, but download. And it's like, it wasn't visitations, but it's like people who knew Jesus in the New Testament came into my office and said, you want to know what he's like? I know him. I was the innkeeper he kicked out of the temple. I got to take on him. Jesus is like this song. whoa, I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. Hey, I was 12 years old. He brought me back from the dead. I got to take on him. Song. Hey, I'm the leper who he healed of leprosy and made me promise I wouldn't tell anybody. I think I might be going to hell because I'm telling everybody. I can't keep this. You know, all these songs come down and I think, oh my heavens. And I went through the lyrics to these songs that I've been writing over these 10 days. And the core issue was not about the gay issue or policy. It was about, are you there? Do you know me? Do you care about me? How am I, what's my connection to you? What's my relationship with you? And I can't even imagine that you would love me as personally, as intimately, and completely as John the Baptist. And then it was like, you don't get it, do you, Michael? I came for you. And those songs I recognized, oh my heavens, this is my language. This is what you're giving me. Ah.
And how did you reconcile things with your son?
Great. Yeah. Because what happened was once the knowledge that I was not alone, one of the things that I started to question was, why did it take 9 years? Am I an idiot? Was he really absent? Or did I just not see him? And I started to make some notes and look at and recognize, oh, wait a minute. This thing, I had decided, well, and this is my arrogance, and I have to be humbled, I guess, compelled to be humble, but I know how God answers prayers. And here's the limitations. He certainly doesn't answer prayers by calling me to be on a progressive peace foundation that's going to get world peace with all these uber liberal progressive Christians. And I'm the token member of my faith. And while I'm there, I'm introduced to people who have written like amazing books like God, a Biography by Jack Miles. Brilliant. I'm sitting next to him and I'm not thinking, oh, God may answer some of my deepest yearnings through a guy that's not part of my faith, not one of my leaders, not in my conference. Well, he was. And then, while I'm there, a gay Catholic priest who couldn't practice any longer talks to me about how when you're raised in a faith and you're trying to come to terms with your sexuality and it isn't lining up. And he says, it's not just your faith. The Catholics have a hard time with this. All churches do. Let me go through scriptures that might help you understand your son. Scriptures. From the Catholic. Well, that's interesting, but certainly God is not, that's not how he's going to answer my prayer, right? Well, it was. And there were so many things, Nate, so many gifts, so many, why didn't I see that? Why had I shut that off? And so my heart opened up in ways to understand things about what my son was going through, and we went to therapy together to try to learn to communicate. And I had to humble and recognize maybe my conviction of this is the, and then I started to look at those 30 albums. And I thought, I wonder if heaven was trying to prepare me for how to connect with my son. A year and a half ago, at the very first Love Loud thing that Imagine Dragons did down in Orem, I got invited. I said, let me ask Jeff if we can sing together. Because that was always our deepest connection. And Jeff was great, and he said, okay, and we had learned, and this is a whole other story, but we had figured out how to rebuild our relationship, not based on falsehoods or lies, because when you're trying to hide, it's tough to be a gay kid in the straight world. You try to be Mike McLean's son. In this tribe, come on, I mean, it's just impossible. And so you have to pretend to not be. And he was a spectacular missionary and did every single thing that'd been asked from Eagle Scout and graduated from seminary and blah, 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 blah. And said, it's just. Dad, it isn't true. This is not a choice. This is something that I have to manage, and I don't know how to do it, and it's not your problem, it's mine, but this is so painful, and I feel targeted, and all that. So we're learning to talk through all that stuff. And so a song that I had written during the Kosovo refugee thing, about refugees, I said to the Dan Reynolds troupe from Imagine Dragons, let Jeff and I sing a song together. Here's the still keeping promises his heart no longer feels, and here's Jeff, who had been married to his partner. His marriage didn't last as long as he had hoped, but he doesn't do the church, but he comes to dinner and with us and says family prayer, and I mean, he's a terrific kid. Let's sing this song. So a song that I thought I was writing about people who are refugees, we sing these lyrics together in front of 25,000 people at the Love Loud LGBT thing. And here's the song. There are refugees among us that are not from foreign shores, and the battles they've been waging are from very private wars. And there are no correspondents documenting all their grief, but these refugees among us all are yearning for relief. There are refugees among us, they don't carry flags or signs, they're standing right beside us. My son's standing right beside me. In the market checkout lines. And the war that they've been fighting will not be televised, but the story of their need for love is written in their eyes. This is a call to arms, to reach out and to hold the evacuees in the dark. This is a call to arms to lead anguished souls to safe harbors of the heart. Can you see through their disguises? Can you hear what words won't tell? Some are losing faith in heaven because their life's a living hell. Is there anyone to help those who have nowhere else to flee because the only arms protecting them belong to you and me? This is a call to arms, to reach out and to hold the evacuees in the dark. This is a call to arms to lead anguished souls to safe harbors of the heart. Can you feel the pleas of the refugees for safe harbors of the heart? So there I am on stage with my son, who's a great singer, singing this duet of a song that was preparing us and teaching me lessons I needed to learn.
That you had written how many years previous?
10, 15. Yeah. And then I went through my catalog of all those albums. I thought I was writing for somebody else. I thought I was, if you're watching this, I thought I was writing for you. I thought, well, this is my gift, and here's what I'll do. I'll write a song that'll help you get through feeling lonely, or I'll write a song to help you hold on, the light will come. They were for me. The songs were so that I would have some preparation for or ability to get through stuff. It was all for me.
So you're keeping those songs alive, you're keeping the writing up. Do you plan to retire anytime soon?
That's a good question. You know, I was in the hospital in January. Blood pressure 220 over 118. My A1C was over 11. I have stage 4 kidney failure. I'm dying.
Wow.
And had I not gotten there when I did, I wouldn't be in this interview. And when you face your mortality in that way, I was there 5.5 days, and they said, and it's going to take a long time for you to come. I didn't know if I'd be able to do the tour this year because they just said, it takes a long time to get better from what's wrong with you, and you have 11 things that are really wrong with you. And so I thought, well, what am I going to, am I supposed to stick around? And if so, what should I do? Do I sing old songs? Do I write new songs? Do I do the Forgotten Carols again? And do I leave something? And then I found out my daughter has cancer. And so she's been going through breast cancer and 4 months of chemo and the surgeries and all that stuff. And so I thought, well, I need to be around to kind of help my family, but I also need to determine, if you want me to stay, what do you want? And this may shock you, but heaven opened up and said, go see Nate at East Idaho Newsmakers, and your life will be fine and done.
We have that effect on people.
That's right.
Yeah.
That you didn't realize that it's that little TV program that is really going to be the reason you came.
So where will you be next year at this time?
We don't know, but
Yeah.
at least this will have been preserved.
Right. Thanks, Michael. Good luck with the show. Good luck with the tour. Thank you all for watching. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next week.